And you can go to design and quick layout. And that's my quick layout. It's my favorite one. You know, it's the chart title, clicking all this stuff. Okay, also, I'll show this again real quick. Got all these options. Got so many cool things. It's so nice.
Gary! I was just looking for the sports channel, Gary.
Hey everyone, how are we doing? I see we got about 5 or 6 people watching. So if you're here with questions right now, it is time to ask questions. We're here to talk about some Stat 201. Let's go talk about the test to start. Good place to start. Test is arriving here sooner than later. And let's go take a look. We're going to bring up the syllabus page here and go check that out. Test very, very soon here this week. Let's go take a look. Test is on Thursday. I'm always afraid to say what day it is, lest I say the wrong day right here. Like, and everyone's like, wait, I heard in this video it was this. You just say one wrong date, and then everything goes haywire. If you're in the chat, feel free to say hey. I'm loading up MuleBot right here. So we are going to review on Tuesday night specifically, and I'm going to pull up the page there. And let's bring this over out of here. So we have everything going on. Please tell me if there are conflicts with your test, like if you can't take it on the given day. We give the test earlier so that way people don't have extensions on time. Please just tell me if you don't have your time, if you're supposed to have more than the time allotted, like 1.5 time. All those things right there, make sure to contact me and just be like, hey, Brian, it's not there and it should be there. I'll be going through making sure everything's there. If you need to take it early, please tell me. Our goal is that everyone takes it on the same day. And if somebody has a conflict, we give it to people early. And yeah, then everyone's taking the test. Let's go talk about reviewing for the test, though, right here, right now. Now, there's lots of great review right here. You can go over here to Review Material Exam 1. This is the first exam. When you go through here, you'll see it's the same material we have during the semester. So we scroll down a little bit right here. We see Official Stat 201 Exam 1 formula sheets. This is the formula sheet you can use. So let's just go take a look at that. Here is the formula sheet. Not that much on the first exam. We just have here the equation of a line, which says the predicted value of the y is equal to the value of the intercept. That is the estimate of the intercept. Plus, hey, Grant, good to see you here. So we get an assigned time to take. No assigned time. It's all day Thursday. Great question right there, Grant, excuse me, Grant. I got your name wrong for a second. Grant, all day Thursday, Grant. Let's throw some 20 points to Grant right here in the chat. All day Thursday, Grant. I'll be sending out reminders on Thursday like, hey, make sure you take the test. And then I usually send out a late day reminder like, hey, 2 more hours to take the test. So Thursday is the day to take the test. And one of the best things for reviewing for the test, besides all the review material right here, and I always try to point people in this direction, is the Canvas content quizzes. We've got the practice exams right here. We also have review videos. I think the review videos are great. They go through the practice exam. I can't speak today. But if you want to do like normal curve stuff, you can see how some normal curve questions would look, where we might give you some of the graphics. Since you can't actually be using the David M. Lane, you won't use the David M. Lane or jump on the test, but you might have to do stuff with the graphics. So I go through here and explain, you're welcome anytime. Yep. Just make sure you get a 90-minute window in there to take the test. And you can see through questions like correlation. And this page right here, I'll put it in the chat. I think I made a command for it. We'll see if MuleBot tells us the command or not. I just put the page for it right here and going up. MuleBot's doing it. MuleBot's putting it in there. So you can see just how to follow through and do these different things, how to talk about correlation, how to do testing correlation, all these different values right here. No calculator either. You can use a calculator. Just make sure it's not an internet-capable calculator like your phone. Whatever you do not use your phone on the test. Don't be like this. If that occurs, especially if I catch it, there's so many hours of video. If you are pulling out your phone during the test, you need to send me an email and say there was an emergency and my mom called during the test, or my fiance called, or my husband called, or whoever, and you need to alert me to that and say, I'm very sorry. During the test, there was this emergency. I had to take this, try not to take calls. Generally speaking, I don't think people will need to take it. Just don't do that. TI-84s are excellent. Not that you need one. They can just really help. I've had people who think they'll ace the class with it, and they think, oh, this calculator will do everything. Well, it can do a lot, but you have to know how to use it. I've had people who don't have it at all and people who ace the class. So they're great. Very good help, but they're not it's not going to be a make or break. You can make an A very easily with without a TI-84, and you could have a T84 and just be like, well, I don't know what this question's asking. Not tons of like hard calculations on there. Speedrun videos, woohoo! So go ahead and check out the speedrun videos if you want. I go through, Long Hair Brian goes through the topics, talking about the different chapters. Once again, and there's a whole bunch of things in this playlist, multiple speedruns, chapter reviews, so many things right here. What's going on with that video right there? What's going on? So you got a lot of review on here. I would start reviewing as soon as possible, like today, just trying to like be like, okay, tonight I'm going to take an hour, hour and a half, or however long you have on your schedule allocated for that amount of time to do a little bit of reviewing to go over the topics. So find some time, come here to this page. The links are currently in the chat. It's all under the Stat Tool 1 homepage right here, just easily allocated with like review material exam 1, review material exam 2. We're obviously doing exam 1. But one thing I really want to point out right here, which is really big, are the Canvas content quizzes. Now, this is like the good or maybe scary thing. I'm not trying to scare anybody. But what you want to do when you're doing a Canvas content quiz is you want to see if you can get these questions right on your own. So let's hear, we'll put a cut in the video. I like to do cuts in the video so I can come back and like talk about specific stuff, and I can label this in the video, talking about Canvas contents. Let's talk about the Canvas contents here for a second. So a lot of people are rightfully worried when you're taking a class, like, what's this first test going to look like? Well, your test is going to be via Respondus, so your questions are going to look a lot like a Canvas content quiz. So these questions right here are meant to mimic the test. So if you're worried, and keep asking questions. Grant, Oscar, so good to have you here. Keep asking questions. I'll answer all those questions you ask. So if you're worried about what the test is going to be like, this is what the test is going to be like. So you see a test is given to students and the mean is 70. So when we do this right here, we want to take a screenshot. We're just going to practice. And we're going to go over here to Microsoft Word. And we'll drop it in. We're going to kind of think through this right here. What does it tell us? Well, it says the mean is 70. That means the mu, which is the mean. The standard deviation is 6, which that makes that the sigma, the standard deviation. So does it say it's normally distributed? Well, you don't need to be normally distributed to find a z-score. It would be appropriate if it's normally distributed to find the z-score. You can always mathematically find a z-score, whether or not the data is normally distributed. What do I mean by normally distributed? I mean it has a bell-shaped curve, which is the proper time to use mean and standard deviation. But still, mathematically, you can always find a mean and standard deviation. We know that Jerry made an observation, which is y, of this right here. So the z-score is just merely the distance, that's the observation for Jerry, how far he is away from the mean, that's his distance, and then we're going to standardize that distance right here. So think about the top part of the equation. Here's his distance, how far are you away from the mean, and then we have here in terms of standard deviations. And we can plug in the numbers, but we should also think about it theoretically for a second. Just realize that Jerry is 9 below the mean. So if you think about this, you can see right here, he has a 61, 70. Now, remember, z-scores are positive or negative for a reason. We're going to get here -9 over 6. So, hey, has there already been said, but when is exam 1? Thursday. Hannah, good to have you here. Thursday is exam 1, all day Thursday. And so we're going to get a z-score of -1.5 on this. Feel free to keep asking those questions. We're going to have a review tomorrow night, a Kahoot, and all that good stuff. But keep asking those questions. We were talking in the last segment about how to review for the exam. And then we're mentioning right now the importance of Canvas content because a lot of people are like, hey, what's the exam going to look like? What questions are you going to ask? So if you're worried about the types of questions, you're seeing them right here, right now. So you're seeing what the exam, like here's how we might do the normal curve. We're not going to have you use David M. Lane or jump on the test. You might have to look at some jump output, but you wouldn't be like using jump output or creating jump output. You'd be doing everything similar to what you're doing on the Canvas content. So that's why the Canvas content exists, to be like, hey, this is the exam. So here's the pro and the con. If you're doing the Canvas content and you're acing them and you're like, hey, this is easy, and you're not using your notes, which you can use your notes on Canvas content, not on the test. If you're doing the Canvas content and acing them, like if this example I just did right here, you're like, okay, I got it. I know how to find the mean, the standard deviation. I know that the z-score is the observation minus the mean over the standard deviation. And I know the z-score here is going to be -1.5. Now that's a key. Z-score tells you if something is above or below the mean. So if you were to able to follow through and do this like that, you're perfectly on track. Now, a lot of us are going to need review. Just remember that you can ace Canvas content a lot easier because you've got your notes and you've got 2 attempts. I think where people maybe get overconfident is that on the test, you get 1 attempt and you don't get your notes. So that's where the test is going to be harder. So use the Canvas content, your previous Canvas contents, which you should be able to see, I think, the answers for. Thursday, thank you so much, Robbie, right there. Let's throw everyone some 50 points. If you have questions, let me know. Let me go back. So I've talked about the importance of Canvas contents right here. We can talk about like what's due this week. We can talk about assignments. Let me take questions from you. And I want, so a lot of people who aren't very familiar with, here, I'll have to space. Oh, I hit the button twice by accident. A lot of people aren't familiar with at least like a lot of the streams we do. It's driven by you. It's driven by Robbie, Hannah, Grant, Oscar. It's your time for questions. If you're here, you get to say, hey, Brian, can you do this? Can you talk about this? Can you explain this topic, regression, correlation, normal curve, categorical variables, quantitative variables? Can you explain this? When to use a pie chart? Can you have Puppet Shark say hey? Yeah. Puppet Shark always says hey. I gotta raise his volume. Let me look at Puppet Shark's volume. Puppet Shark, we're looking at your volume right here. Nah, I don't know if I can raise his volume. I don't think there's a filter for that. Well, we'll wait a second here, see if there's questions, then I can do another one. But feel free to give a question in the chat. Be like, you know, that correlation chapter, wondering about it. Winter exams 2 and 3 should be, let me go check right here. Let's go take a look at that. Here we go. Let's take a look. 2 seconds. I don't have them memorized off the top of my head. And I'm always, one of my biggest fears, I think it's because you have fears with teaching, like by mistakes you've made in the past. One time I like said the wrong date for students. I was like, the exam's on such and such date. And then a bunch of students were like, wait, you said it's on this day. And I was like, oh, I messed up. And like people, you know, write these things down. So if you have a conflict, please tell me and we can schedule the exam earlier. So some people might take the exam earlier if they have a conflict. We try to give the exam earlier if there's a conflict. So if you're like, hey, Brian, I'm going to be out of the country at this point. 1, hopefully it's not like some big extended period where you can't take the exam. But 2, we try to then give it like a day or 2 early. So the first exam right here is on Thursday. It's open all day Thursday all day, exam right there. And then we have the project coming up the following week. We'll be doing some streams on that, like a project help stream, like we're doing for the exam help stream. So expect project help streams, exam help streams. So probably Monday of next week, we'll be doing a project help stream and probably just later in the day. And then we're looking down here, exam number 2. Where's exam 2? Should be getting near it. Exam 2 requires lockdown browser. Wednesday, July 14th. So Wednesday, July 14th is exam 2 right here. So you see exam 2 requires lockdown browser. You can see the material we've gone through at this point. And then we go down here further, all the way at the very end. Let's go all the way down here to the very bottom. And you see right here, exam 3 is going to be on July 29th. Had to do with the 80th percentile. That question on Canvas content you had hovering over, can you answer that with the 80th? Oh, you bet. Definitely. We'll do the next segment. So thank you, Robbie, for the question. Thank you, Hannah. So the exam dates are July 29th. Here, we'll put them in here. Make them nice and visual so everyone can see. Exam 3. Really? Here, we'll do the paste. There we go. Look at that. There's options when you paste. Hey. Okay, so there's exam 3. We'll do this, and we got Robbie's question next right here. Sad music is ending. More chill music. Exam 2. Why did that one not do a weird paste? I mean, I'm okay with that, but... And then what is Thursday, the 24th, right? So we'll just take this and change it. And we got Robbie's question next. So here you are, Hannah. Ah, too big. So there we go right there. And I think we got some more questions. When you said you would open the exam early for people who need it, it would that also be available for the rest of the class? Just individuals to help. Like it helps when there's an exam day. Please tell me if you have a conflict. Like 4 people who have contacted me and said, hey, I'm currently flying on this day, or I have to be here on this day, or I have to work all day this day. Like maybe I'm working a 9 to 9 shift or something crazy. And then they say, you know, can I have it open on a different day? Thus, you know, I can assign it on like an earlier day, which is the goal. We don't want to be like being like, hey, you can have an extra week to study, because then it's like, wait a minute, I have to take the exam on this day and they get an extra week. So a lot of people would not usually choose willingly to take an exam early. And so we're not trying to penalize anybody, but it's just hard. And it's the fun of teaching. And then we'll do Robbie's question next right here. But Grant, if you have a conflict, please contact me. And then it's just easier to have one exam day. So if there's conflicts, I can then like work with the conflict. So I'm always vigilant on my emails for those who have emailed me. But on exam days, I'm like super vigilant. I'm like, if I go an hour without looking at emails, I'm like, what am I doing? So I try to be as vigilant on exam days. So if I had it open for like a week, I'd probably go mad. I'd be like, and then it might be so long that a lot of people are just taking it the last day. So I think a day is pretty good. And if you have conflicts, talk to me. Can you review chapter 5, part 2? Yeah, we can do it next. Thank you so much for all the questions. Robbie's got a question. We're going to do Robbie's, and then we'll do Hannah's question. Let's hop back to spoilers. Okay, 2 seconds right here. Let me get that question that Robbie was wondering about, the 80th percentile. And then we'll do some chapter 5, part 2. Is there a specific one you want to talk about, like percentiles on the normal curves, which I think relates to Robbie's question a little bit right here. Is there a specific one? I'm never going to find that question again, Robbie. I'm loading examples of this right now. Where is it? Oh, found it. Okay, we're going to go right here. We're going to do this question. And then Hannah, if you have a specific one, or I could do general stuff if you like. Okay, got the question. Let's do it. Okay, here we are. So with this question right here, we are given data from the AMA, American Medical Association. Researchers reported that a more accurate body temperature for individuals is 98.2. Interestingly enough, as you get older, your body temperature actually goes down, and 98.6 is not generally what people have for body temperature. We see a lower body temperature with a variation, which is the standard deviation. Let's start marking this a little bit right here. The variation in body temperature has a mean, which is a central value, and a standard deviation, which is a measure of spread of how far the data is out away from it, of 0.7. So we expect at the center to have 98.2. So we're going to put 98.2 at the center. That's where the mean goes. And then we're going to go up by 0.7. If you notice right here, this value right here is the spread of the data, which is how much you're going up each time. The color right there made it very hard to see. You can't see that. But the spread, the spread of the data is 0.7. And then the mean of the data, we'll do right here, the mean is the center of the data. Interestingly enough, we only really need to look at one standard deviation. And this can kind of give us some insights. Question 3 and 4 on the homework, you bet. Here, we'll do that next here. This can give us some insight into what the values might be. It says, let's find the 80th percentile. And right here, it says 60%. We'll mark that in green. 60% is this area. So real quick question. Don't worry, we'll throw some 20 points. If 60% is on the inside, what percent is total on the outside? So we're saying right here is that area right there is 60% of the curve. So I want to know what is total outside this. What is total outside this? Like 60% is on the inside, and then what is total outside of it? Great job, Robbie. Excellent work. And so, Robbie, if 40% is total on the outside, like this right here is like adding these two together is 40. So like that is a total of 40%. That means that one of these is worth 20%. Like because it's symmetric. There's a rule of symmetry right here that each of these is worth 20%. Great job, Hannah, also. So with it being 20% on either side, we see an interesting thing here with the 80%. The 80th percentile. The 80th percentile means 80% is below it. Always ask yourself, would you rather be in the 99th percentile of your class or the first percentile? When it comes to grades, would you rather be in the 99th percentile or would you rather be in the first percentile? So would you rather be in the first percentile or the 99th percentile of grades? What seems like a better idea right there? Like, I want to be in the first percentile. Well, do you? Do you? What does that mean your grade is going to be if you're in the first percentile? First percentile is not the top 1%. The first percentile wouldn't be the top 1%. The first percentile is the bottom 1%. The 99th percentile is the top 1%. So that means like you are right up here. Like you are, I'm going to put a green line for where you're at. Your grade is right here if you're in the 99th percentile. If you're in the first percentile, you're all the way down here at the bottom. So where is this green line at? What percent of data is below this green line? And we should see a very similar answer when you think about the percent of data below this green line right here. The percent of data below that green line is 80%. And we're looking for the 80th percentile, right? So if the percent of data below that green line is 80%, that means that is the 80th percentile. 80% of observations would be at or below this. Now, the answer does look close to be this. Exactly. Excellent work. We'll zoom in a little bit here so we can see a lot better. The answer looks to be a little bit below 98.9. But what do we know for this? I want you to look up here at these answers up here, and I want you to tell me what these represent. Right now, this value, not that green, yellow highlighted one, we know the what's for the 80th percentile, which is this value right here. This value right here is the what for the 80th percentile. Like, so that's not what the 80th percentile of temperatures is. Like, people who have the 80th percentile of temperatures don't have a 0.842 temperature. That'd be weird. Your temperature's 0.842? What do you mean? 84.2? No, what do you mean about 0.842? That value right there, because it's on a curve with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1, these values right here represent what's. And I've written the context in green. Those values right there on the 0, 1 curve are just how many something is above or below. Bingo right there, Oscar. Z-scores. That means it's that many standard deviations above or below the mean. So just think about this. You're telling somebody, if you're at the 80th percentile, your temperature is 0.842 standard deviations above the mean. Does that make sense? Like, my temperature, if I'm here, is 0.842 standard deviations above the mean. So what would you do? Well, if you're 0.842 standard deviations above the mean, let's take the mean of 98.2 and add to it that many standard deviations. And, well, sure, we'll do the standard deviation first, and then we'll times it by this. And all you're doing is adding to the mean, there's the mean, plus the standard deviation times the z-score, and from this, you're finding the observation. So it's a reversal of our formula we did before, where we had a formula here, z-score equals observation minus mean over standard deviation. So now we're just solving for the value of y right here. So instead of, now we know the z-score, and we're saying what is the value of y, because the z-score just tells you how many standard deviations an observation is above or below the mean. So that would be the answer right there. We can solve it, and it should be a little bit below 98.9. So whatever we get right here, we just have to make sure that when we solve this, 0.7 times 0.842, that's how many standard deviations we're going up, and then we add that to 98.2, and we get 98.78, which is very close to 98.9, and that's what we're seeing right here. It should be a little bit below 98.9. Like, this is the context when we go up the values on the curve that we're given, the mean standard deviation. Does that make more sense? I think Robbie was asking about this. Is it making more sense how we found this? The notation is very important. And then to understand a z-score tells us how many standard deviations an observation is above or below the mean. So great work right there. We'll hop back to space. We'll do Hannah's questions here and put some more questions in. We're totally fair to this. I'm just going to hit my mug. Last sip of coffee. You're welcome, Robbie. Thank you so much for the question. We're going to throw some more 20 points out. And I want to say this also, you're always free to come to office hours. You'll notice I'm live on office hours. You can just go to the YouTube channel. You'll see live on office hours. I think it is 2 p.m. your time. Double check. Just go to the YouTube channel. If you ever see me live and it says like office hours, feel free to join in. Unless you can always join in and say, hey, if it's like BAS 320 Kahoot, then I'm probably doing that. But office hours are open to all 201 students. Is the exam open all day? You bet, Marion. Good to see you here. Exam open all day. Put on a little music right here as we go between slides. Let's just go right here. Listen to our Celeste music. It's not Celeste, but that's a good video game. Sounds like it to me. That's why I picked it. Let's go here and take a look at Chapter 5, Part 2 homework, and keep asking those questions. You can always toss in a question at any time. If it's a big question, I generally do it in a different segment. I'm getting the next question loaded up here. If it's a small question like that, I just answer right away. So let me know those questions. And great work, everybody. I just want to say, like, overall, like, the people have been working on the assignments. It's like not worrisome, maybe scary when you teach online classes. I mean, I'm looking at where people missed assignments. It's tough. Like right now, about 15% of people are not doing assignments. That's not good. And I just put in the zeros for it. If you miss assignments, grades start to go down a little bit. You just want to make sure you start early, ask questions. A lot of help videos out there that I put out there, but you can always jump on some office hours and be like, hey, Brian, I'm stuck on this. I got no idea how to do this question, and we'll work it. Let's look at some Chapter 5, Part 2 homework coming right here. Here we go. Let's do this. Oh, it's my favorite question. I love it. Here we go. Chapter 5, Part 2 homework. Here we go. So this one right here uses the normal curve, and we are going to use the David M. Lane applet for this. Now, there's a lot we can do without the David M. Lane applet. You know what's really interesting? Do you remember that question we just did a second ago? I think we can get this right because of the question we just did. So wait, I want everyone's help right here. I'm going to throw out some big 50 points if we can do this. Do you notice this value right here of 0.85? And we are trying to go above that. So that's what that says, a z-score greater than 0.85. So that's going to be the right answer right there, because we're just looking at a z-score greater than 0.85. How do I know it's on this side of the curve? Well, the values on the normal curve go from negative to positive. Now, I want you to look at something right here. 0.85, which this is so funny we got this. These numbers are randomly generated. Does everyone see that 0.85 is very close to the question we just did a second ago? And this is where you could get something like this on the test. This is 0.842. And what would be the answer if it said probability? We'll put in a fake question right here. So I want you to look at the screen and pretend this is the question. Let's see if we can guess it. You'd be like, whoa, we just guessed it right. What if it said z-score greater than or equal to 0.842? What would be the answer to that? So if it says a z-score greater than or equal to 0.842, using the information on the screen, which we've marked, they told us this was 60%. That's what the question told us. It said that 60% is in between these two numbers. So that's why I marked this here. Question details that. Did I just break Word? I don't know. Hopefully, okay, this isn't broken. Microsoft Word's being a little weird. Good, we're back. So what would be the answer to this question? This right here, which is represented by this area right here, what would be the answer to that question? Who knows? Some 20 points on the line right here. So it's that yellow area right there. Using the information on the screen, can you calculate the area of the yellow area? The area of the yellow area. Who knows what it would be? 20%, exactly right. There's some 20 points right there. So if this is 20%, if we go a little bit higher, then it's got to be a little less than 20, right? So watch this. It's going to be so close. Oh, we're so close. We got it. Second guess. We just guessed the answer to that right there. Just guessed the answer to that. Let's look at the David M. Lane to see how it can be found with the David M. Lane applet. So on the David M. Lane applet, we can put in the exact numbers here. David M. Lane applet is in the chat, just the link to it. And it's very close. Like we said, it's going to be very close to 20%, but a little bit less. There's almost exactly 20. Like, really? Wow. It's like this is 20% right here, and it rounds up to that. So that's the outside 20% or the upper 20%. And then we are doing just a little bit. Watch it. Just, you can't even see it. It's so small. It's just a little bit less. Like if I move this over here to 1, it'll make it even smaller. You won't use the website for the exam. You'll do questions very similar to something like this right here. So this is a really good example. So great question right there, Hannah. This question right here is a really good example of how you might view things on the exam. So you won't use the David M. Lane or jump on the exam, but you might see questions like this right here, where you're given the information from the applet, and then you might have to calculate the values. So understanding the applet and what you're seeing, especially the idea of graphing it right here, wrong thing, especially the idea of graphing it, I'll find it. There we go. The idea of graphing it can really help. The less than 0.75 is going to be a very tough one to guess. That is going to be less than, so we need to go to 0.75, and that's going to be on the right side of the curve because it's greater than 0. So it's going to be this graphic right here, less than 0.75, and a super hard one to guess. It's going to be a little bit less than 80%. It's going to be like 73 point... It's got to be greater than 75% because I know a number. Yes, it's greater than 70. You're like, how do you know that, Brian? Because I do this stuff way too much. That's how I know that. So it's got to be like 70. It falls off quicker. So if it falls off quicker, it's going to get more of the area. 78.21. It's just fun to guess these. I like it if you get them right. If you guess them, it's always... Oh, we didn't get it. Okay. We know what the graphics should look like, though. We're going to go back to our David M. Lane website, and we're just going to go below 0.75. And it's 77.34. Oh my God, look at those guesses. We're super close. 77.34. And we're using the David M. Lane website. I'll put that link in the chat right here again. Mubot will post it for you. And we're going just below. One big thing to notice is whenever you make your graphic, it should look like this. So this graphic right here is how my graphic should look. Look at how 0.75 is right here, and I'm graphing the area below it. Another thing you'll notice about these questions is that they go in order with the first, second, third, and fourth question, just happenstance. But this graphic right here, let's just show it side by side, is going to look exactly like this graphic right here. It's like, look at me, now look at you. Now look at me, now look at you. Me, look at you. So you'll know you have the answer correct if your graphic looks like the one you're seeing in the picture they give you. So make sure you're following that right there and you will get the right answer. You don't need to guess it. It's just fun to guess it. Next one's also a tough one. Why do they do that to us? I'm going to get one wrong probably. Who knows? So now we want the area between. That's what it means. Z is contained between negative 1.05 to 1.55. Much harder one to guess. Much, much harder. Oh my gosh. What have they done to us? I'm thinking too hard on this one because it's a very hard one to guess. It's more than 68. It's less than 95. It's got to be, because that's where the 1.645. I'm going to take one guess at this. Not that. I know that's the answer. You can't see it behind my head. It's between these numbers right here, because the z-score is contained between negative 1.05 to 1.55. And so now the answer for this, it has to be more than 68 because it's outside of 1 and negative 1, 68 rule. But it's going to be like halfway to 90. So that's 22%. So, but not quite. So another 10%. Okay. This will be the best guess in the world if I get this right. Oh, man. I get 2 guesses. And then you get it wrong. Now, remember. So take some guesses. See if you get close. Negative 1.05. We're going to make our picture look like this. We're going to go between. And apparently I just need to practice. Oh, we were so close. So 79.26. 79.26. Pretty decent guess. You're not meant to guess these things, but you need to make your picture look like that picture. 79.26. Decent guess. And this is why having knowledge of the empirical rule is very helpful, because I'm using a lot of empirical rule numbers to make these educated guesses. This is a z-score outside. So in terms of greater than absolute value of 0.9. So when we say the z-score has to have a higher absolute value than 0.9, it needs to be this. Now, if we know 68% is inside of here between negative 1 and 1, 32% would be outside, and this has to be a little bit more than 32. So we'll just go here and guess 41.25. Good guess. Nope. And then we'll just go a little bit less because that's probably too much. These are just random guesses. And now we want outside of negative 0.9 and 0.9. once again, and it's 36.81. I was pretty far off on that one. Make sure when you see your picture right here, make sure it looks just like what you're getting right there. 36.81, I think, is the answer. So we were close-ish. I mean, ballpark, if it's a big ballpark. And there we go, it's the answer right there. Is that making more sense on this one right here? And then we'll do the steer weights one. So did that, here, I'll hop back to Spoice, and then we'll go do the next one. Did that make sense right there, Hannah? How to do that question and understand kind of working through it, just kind of how we use the applet, how to look at the curve, what the percentage above or below certain points looks like, and then the empirical rule is going to be very important. So make sure you know the 68, 95, 99.7 rule. We could do that next if people want. We'll do the steer weight cutoff question here, which is going to be a David M. Lane applet question. Let me get my screen oriented really nice for this one. And, whoops, wrong button click. We will do the steer weight question, and then we got open floor for questions. So remember, this is your time to ask questions, to say, hey, Brian, I do not know how to solve this. And I will say, yes, let's solve that question. Did it finally? Yes. There we go. Here we go. Let's do the steer weight question. Awesome, Hannah. Great work. I'm going to disappear. Wow, I'm gone. Let's go back here to the main screen. I'm just down here. I guess I can appear right now. So what's really great about the David M. Lane applet is we can put in the values. A lot of statistician type people want to just not use applets. They want to use Z-tables. Z-tables are old school. We're new school here. We're going to go ahead and put in the mean right here. And the David M. Lane applet, we'll drop that link in the chat again, just so people can know where we're at. There it is. MuBot, show us that link. The standard deviation is going to control the measure of spread, which controls about how far these values are out from the mean. Notice 1,151's at the center. And now the standard deviation will change, which is how far out these values are spread in each interval. They each go up by 83 units each time. This is weight in pounds. So we want the highest 10% of steer weights, which is going to be somewhere over here, technically right about there. So I know that because this is the highest 16%. Just to kind of talk about the empirical rule for half a second right here, remember that the empirical rule is the 68 is between -1 and 1, more exactly these numbers. 95 is between -2 and 2, and that's the actual z-score. And 99.7 is 3. So when you talk about 68% of the area, you're actually saying the highest 10%, so if we go above this, or if we go, yeah, let's do that, above is right here, because 16% would be on either side. If 68 is in the middle, that leaves 16% on either side, and that's when I was looking for the highest 10%. It has to be over here. Let's put back in the mean standard deviation, because right now we have a z-score for it. And we're going to put back in our mean and standard deviation, and here is the value. So we could give you the z-score right here for this question. Let's see right there. There's the value, round to 1 decimal. It probably would have accepted that either way. We could give you the z-score. If we gave you the z-score right here of 1.282, and then you'd have to say, well, I know that this steer's weight is 1.282 standard deviations above the mean. So let's go ahead and take 1.282 times it by the standard deviation, and that's how far it is above the mean. But remember, the mean is at 1,151. So we just add it right there and we get the same number. Hopefully that made sense. Please ask me to slow down if I do something too quickly. All we're doing is saying this steer has a weight that is 1.282 standard deviations above the mean. Well, remember, that means you need to go up 83 and then 0.28283. It's like you're going up 83 one time and then a 0.282 on the 83 right here. So that's why I'm taking the 83 right here and multiplying it by 1.282, and that's how much I'm going up. But what am I going up from? I'm going up from the mean. The mean right here is where the center of the curve is at. So I'm going up that far from the mean, and then we need to put back on here the units of the standard deviation, and you can see that's how much I'm going up. So just looking at that visually right there, I hope that helps to see we're going up 1.282 standard deviations, and this is found on the standard normal curve, which has the center of 0, because that is the z-score when we're at the mean, and has a standard deviation of 1. Everything on here is now z-scores, and that is the z-score of the top 10%. We could find the z-score of the lowest 20% by going here. We're going to see that famous 0.842 number that we keep seeing, because we've seen that so much today. And this is the lowest 20%. So when you think about this, an observation here would be this far below the mean in terms of standard deviations. So going back to here, we can take this, multiply it by 83, and that's how many units it is below the mean. But remember, the mean's not at 0, the mean's at 1,151. So we take that and subtract, and that is the answer. We can confirm this is the answer by putting the context back in here so we can see it, and there's the answer right there. It carried a few more decimals. Can I copy this? I can? Whoa. It's going to get mad if I put that comma, though. That's cool. Didn't know that. And so that is the answer right there. Now we look at the middle 40% of weights. Now, we could do the z-scores, or we could just go for the answer. There's the middle 40% right there. So steers between this and this are the middle 40%, which is where the bottom 30% is, and the top 30%. How do I know that? Because if 40% is on the inside, then 30% would be on the lower side, and 30% would be on the outer side. 30, 40, 30 is 100%. So you could do this again with z-scores. The z-score way of doing it would be to take and times this by the standard deviation. The standard deviation just tells you how many units, how many standard deviation, the z-score tells you how many standard deviations you are above or below the mean. So we are 0.524 standard deviations below the mean, and that's what that is in terms of standard deviations. We take that, subtract from the mean, and there's the answer there that we just had. And then we take the mean and we add to it, and there's the answer right there for adding it to the mean. And all of this can be observed if we put the context back in here. And there's the second answer appearing on the screen. They just carry a few more decimals than we carry. So 1107.5 rounded and 1194.5 rounded. And we've done it. It is open floor for questions. Ask those questions. We will be reviewing more tomorrow night, but ask questions if you got them. What questions do you have? Let me know if you have a question right now. Good review right there. Good review of some chapter 5, kind of knowing how to use z-scores and what they mean. A z-score is just how many standard deviations above or below the mean an observation is. So when you hear like, what if you heard your z-score on the test was 3? Would you be pretty happy? And what percentile on the test would you be? Let's go look at that question. Please ask questions if you have them. What do the points represent on the stream? They go for bonus. You can check your points at any time. So this is bonus in the class along with the cards. Here, I'll throw out some 50 points. So the points on the stream are Mubot points. Mubot is around here.
I am Mubot.
Where you at, Mubot? Say hey to everyone. There you are, Mubot. Mubot's hanging out. We'll put you a little further over. You can go off the screen a little bit. Mubot's the one giving out all the points for you right here. He's just our friendly Mubot. Can you explain the whole project briefly? Yeah, I can go to some detail on that. Here, we'll do the project next. Yeah, because it's coming up. That's a great question right there, Mary. Thank you so much. And so your points can be part of your flashcards. You can't get, I'm trying to remember what the syllabus says, but there's a max amount of points you can get, but you get bonus. You can check it any time by doing ! points. You can see I got a lot of points because every time I give out points, I get points. So you can get points and get bonus in the class. So be getting those points, ask those questions, more questions. I just keep throwing out points. So you see I've got 16,000 points. I am in Stat Nation Brian tier. We'll probably rename the tiers again next semester, but we have students make up the names for the tiers. Let's talk about the project a little bit here. Great question. Where's the project? And ask more questions if you have it. The project is coming up next week. And so I'm in the wrong class. Project. 2 seconds here, and we'll go into the project talk a little bit. And let me look it up. It's going through the syllabus, showing all the project stuff. And whoops. Project 1, here we go. Okay. Let's hop over here to the main screen, take a look at some project info. So the project can be turned in early. We'll do a project help stream next week on Monday also, so you can watch that stream and also turn in the project early on Tuesday for bonus. But the project is posted. You can start it at any time. There's quite a few options for data sets here, and you've got some documentation going over these different data sets. So you will be doing visualizations mostly on this. Students are allowed to use any data set they want. If you have a data set you're really excited about, which a few students have had, you can be like, hey, Brian, I want to use this data set. You might send me the data set to make sure it works, but the project is meant to kind of cover how to use sampling and how to do visualizations. So let's take a look right here. Prompt. You have been working for a company, insert company of your choosing, and have been tasked with analyzing insert data of your choosing. You have been working for this company for 5 years and communicate more informally with people you work with. So don't worry about it being super like it's, you're just talking to people, you're trying to explain things. That's the goal, is to communicate effectively. That's what we're trying to learn in this class. The goal of your report is to analyze insert variable you've chosen. So you're going to choose the variable by going through the data sets and communicate a statistical analysis in a way people who haven't taken this class will understand. Use your imagination. I've seen a lot of really great projects because I did ones previously like this, but it's your call on how you analyze the data, how you go through it, but you just need to follow right here with an executive summary. We'll show more on that in a moment, but this is the whole prompt. Here's the due dates. I need to update those. Sorry, I updated them elsewhere. Don't look at those due dates, old due dates. So right here, you've got the pie charts and bar charts. Make a bar chart or a pie chart of a variable of your choosing. Make sure the pie chart or bar chart has numeric backing on the display. So there's a lot of jump work right here. And I think I've got a project list video I'll send out also. We'll go through some of this stuff during the project help stream. After making this graphic, explain the results. When explaining results, make sure to cite the numbers in the graphic. Now, one thing I want to point out right here, if you're wondering how this will be graded, this will be graded by the rubric. So you've got a rubric down here that goes through every detail of how you are graded. A lot of meticulous time of going through right here, basically making sure I can click every button and how you'll be graded. So please, if you're wondering what do I need to do, let's look at that first thing right there with the bar chart and pie chart. So you go here to the bars and the pies and how you'll be graded. The first thing you're graded on with the bars and the pies. Where'd it go? Task 1 here, making bars and pies. You first need to make a well-displayed graphic that is easy to read. Make sure to include numeric backing by adding numbers to the graphic. So your graphic's either too small or is missing the values. Or you didn't make your graphic. Does that make sense here, Mary? Like when you make your bar or your pie chart, you need to make sure to have numeric backing on it. It can be percents, it can be counts, either or is fine. It just needs to have numeric backing. And you don't want to make your graphic like a little tiny graphic, or you don't want to make like a full page graphic. That's where you could lose a few points on like basically how you're displaying this. So that's 5 points of the project right there, just making a good pie chart, bar chart. Like, hey, does it look good? Does it have the numbers? Make sure you have the numeric backing on the graphics. Next, you need to interpret the pie chart or the bar chart. So with interpreting the pie chart or the bar chart, you need to actually like give these numbers context. So, pretend you have to explain this to someone who knows nothing about stats. I know pie charts and bar charts are not the most complicated thing in the world, but you have to be like, okay, there were 5 individuals who were in this group, or 2% of individuals were in this group, depending on if you do percentages or counts. But this right here is very specific on how you will be graded, and probably where people are going to lose most of the points, where a lot of points are just going to get, and you got a lot of advice right here. You can go through here, and if you have any questions, please let me know. I need to update that one thing. You're meant to choose just any of these data sets you want. They're all jump data sets. The example project format right here should show you pretty well. You can see right here just an example, but this is a very short example. Can we subset any number, or do we use the number? You can use the full thing. Yep. So you don't need to subset. There's no subsetting on this. You won't be subsetting. Just follow through it here. This is a very short description right here. Let me show you the short sample project right here. This, you don't want to turn in something just like the sample project, but right here, let's talk about this, because this is something big where a lot of people are going to lose points on their executive summary. So in the executive summary, we've just got a basic executive summary right here. As I put in red, the report below shows the opening of executive summary, but does not include the summary of results and the action item the company will take. Text in red, like this text, would not be included in the report. So it's meant to look like an actual report. Like if you're looking at, hey, what's my report going to look like? Your report's going to look something like this right here. You can put your name on it. You can have fun. You can make a title page, whatever you want. I've seen a lot of interesting stuff. So this right here is not a full executive summary. If you turn in this executive summary, I want to point out how many points you'd get on it. If you turn in this executive summary out of 15 points, how many do you think you would get? If you look, there are 3 tasks for the executive summary. The 3 tasks for the executive summary are outline what is being researched, summarize important results, an action item, which it tells you what an action item is. It says the executive summary gives a clear action item. An action item is something for the company to pursue based on the results. Action item is clear and also connected to report. And this right here says summarize results. The executive summary gives a summary of important details found throughout the report. And this is the full points version of what you do. A summary of results found throughout the report is given. The goal is to shrink, bad grammar, is shrink what is, the goal is shrink what is in the report into a paragraph that communicates important findings, must use numeric backing for results. So when you look at this example report, what do you think this executive summary, like if we remove this part right here where it says we do not have the summary of important results and the action items, because this is worth 15 points, we'll put it right here. How many points is someone going to get? Because what did they do? So this whole thing is worth 15 points. And we'll put how many points are they getting out of 15. And this is where I'm fearful, where a lot of people are going to lose points. This is a huge warning if you're watching this. Executive summaries are where it starts off with losing points. We're saying our charity has been in business for 35 years since the North American release of the Nintendo Entertainment System. Lately, donations to our charity have been declining. This report seeks to analyze which groups are donating and the amount that is being donated in recent years. So, what would I get point-wise here? What did I do? You have to ask. Did I outline what is being researched? I did. I get all 5 points right here. It is clear from the start who the report is for and what is being analyzed. That is a wow. You got that. But guess what? That's all you did. There's not important results summarized throughout. I need you to tell me what you found. The point of the executive summary is that it's the whole report. An executive summary is like an abstract for a scientific paper where you could read the abstract and basically get an understanding of what's going on in the article. Now, you might be more interested in what's going on to be like, okay, let me read the full article, but the abstract kind of told me what the article's about, what the key findings were, what's going on, and then I'm going to go read the full article to read the more details and understand the specifics about what happened. But you're taking your whole report and just condensing it down. What was researched? What did you find? What are we going to do? And that's how the points are being graded. So remember, as this says right here, this does not have those key components. We do not have the summary of important results, and we do not have the action items our company will take, so you'd lose a lot of points right there. Here we see a clear analysis of a histogram, which I think that's the second task. Very, very interesting. The donor data set right here, you'll see we have a very right skew distribution with an outlier of someone who gave $1.5 million. That's awesome. And because this is in thousands of dollars, so this person right here gave 1.5 million. Since there's a very strong skew, the proper analysis here would be to use the median for the center and the IQR for the spread of the data. And you can see we've done this analysis right here. This would be taken and summarized up here in a very short way. Just say, let's do it right here. Like I can take all of that report right there. An analysis was done on how much people are donating. And we found a median donation amount of, what was the median? 325,000. Did I put there? There it is right there. 325,000. And a median donation of, or no, and a, with a spread measured by the IQR of, no, what was the IQR? The IQR is, oh wait, where's the IQR? Did I put the IQR in here? Oh, I didn't interpret the spread. I said continued interpretation of graphic, including spread. And then we would take these numbers right here. Let me find the IQR. The IQR is 437 minus 244. We're just taking the difference between these two numbers, and 193. An IQR of $193,000. And this one sentence right here is going to be the summary of all this down here, because we would have an additional thing, but we're not going to give the full. If you look at how we're taking a paragraph and turning it into a sentence, that's the goal right there, is not to just rehash everything we said down below. We're just kind of taking the key major points and condensing it. You're taking a full paragraph, which doesn't even have the IQR segment, and then just making it into smaller. So use the rubric right here to very well guide you on what you need to do. Make sure you'd be like, did I clearly explain from the start what my report is about and what I am analyzing? Did I summarize my reports? Did I give too many results? Did I give too few results? Am I not using numeric backing? Did I tell what we should be doing? Like, what is the action the company will take based on this? Like, if you're telling me we don't have sales in the North American region, or this video game is not selling enough, well, we're going to start to market more in this area. We're going to analyze this afterwards. What are we going to do because of what you found? This is very key right here. And you need to connect it to the data. Be like, oh, sales in North America were low, so over the next quarter, we're going to focus our marketing campaigns and put extra funds into this and then analyze the data afterwards. That's the goal. Is like, well, what are you going to do right here? What's the whole point of your analysis? And if it's very clear, you get the 5 points. If you give one, but it's like, you're like, we should market more. And it's like, why? You need to make a case, pretend you're arguing for it. And you need to be like, here's what we should do and why. If you give one, you're like, we should make, I don't know, French fries. You're like, wait, what? We're a video game company. Why are we making French fries? And there might be a reason you need to argue that, but if it's not well connected to the report, then I'll give the 2 points right here. So try to get a well-connected action item that's going to, be like, hey, because of these results, here's what we're going to do. So the goal is to connect it. If you go through here, you can see how you're graded on everything, even the future research and the neatness. Make sure your project's nice and neat. So that is kind of a quick overview of the project. We will be going into more detail next Monday for a dedicated stream to that. Well, everybody, I think that's got it. Good review this week. We will be reviewing tomorrow night with the Kahoot. So come in for some prizes, play the Kahoot, hopefully win the Kahoot. You never know. But if you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. Went over some chapter 5 today, went over reviewing for the test, went over the project. You can always email me, always drop by some office hours. Thank you everyone for being here. Let me throw out some more 50 points. Robbie, checking those points. You were so quick, Robbie. We're going to throw you some more 50 points for being here. Thank you so much, Robbie. Keep getting those points. You're at 300 points now. If you have questions, let me know. bstevens@utk.edu. And until then, I will see everybody later. Puppet Shark, you want to say bye? Want to say bye, Puppet Shark? Yeah. He always wants to say bye. He only says yeah, though. With that, everyone, bye for now. Bye. Bye, Philip.